Zoomer has the attention span of a fruit fly. What company do you think could bring back the good old days? Uh, Company that I believe could bring back the good old days. I don't think it's so much of a company as it is just passionate gamers who invest the time, money, and effort into the independent scene. I think that's the only way forward, in my opinion. It's gotten to the point to where gaming on a I think gaming just gotten too big. It's too big. It's too inclusive. I know that's spicy to say, but gaming was better when everybody stayed in their lane and understood where they belonged. That way, you could create things for specific niches or audiences. Nowadays, like the goal, like for this game, even though this game is good, you can see a significant part of its appeal was meant to have mass appeal to the masses. This game isn't really just for people who love Resident Evil 4. It was for anyone who hasn't played Resident Evil 4. And while that's good in some context, it dilutes the overall product. That's why people like me will never be satisfied with this particular game, but people who have never played it will find this game enjoyable. And there's pros and cons to it, but if we ever want to get back to the good old days, we're gonna have to embrace exclusivity, in my opinion. And I know that's not a good thing to say. Everyone thinks it's all about being friends, and everyone gets to be a part of it. And I just don't see that as that's not a realistic possibility. That's not a realistic outcome. It's less about making games for everybody and more about making games for people who really enjoy video games. And if you want to be a part of it, then instead of the games changing to appeal to the most people, people have to change to appeal to that game. That was the way it was back in the I'd say early 7th gen and back. Make gatekeeping great again. Yeah, that's essentially what I'm saying. The industry can't do it because the industry's too interested in money. Like their end game is always going to be the same. Like, we want the most sales, the most accolades, get all the IGNs and GameSpots to give us the best reviews and the whole Gamergate shit. Once the goal is less about making the game you want to make, it's more about making the game that's going to sell the most. And that was the death of gaming, in my opinion. Because, like, look, if you're one of the modern day gamers, go back and and it's hard for a lot of them to do this. I understand that, but if you go back and try to play a game from 6th gen on the OG Xbox, PlayStation 2, or the GameCube, Dreamcast, PS1, N64, if you play any of those games, I promise you, getting past the hardest thing about those games is getting past some of the comforts of modern game design. Because the first thing most people will complain about is the graphics and how hard those games are. When in reality, those games were tailored specifically to people who liked playing those types of games. You like platformers, and all you're gonna do is fucking platform. You like shooting, all you're gonna do is fucking shoot, and so on and so forth. And a lot of those, yeah, that's why old school gamers are tigers. Like, that's back then, gamers were a lot better at video games because you didn't have all this. We didn't have ease of access. It just wasn't available, and part of it was like, oh yeah, well it's just limited hardware and all that stuff. Like, yeah, that's part of it. But I didn't have to show them that much, but oh well. It's part of it, but that's just the way it kind of turned out. And people put way too much stock into inclusivity, making games for everybody. Like, that is not important. It's not as important as you think. Kind of Souls games don't care if anyone plays it. Exactly. And the funny thing is we have We have modern examples of this, and those are the ones that get the most flack. All these Souls games, Souls doesn't give a shit if you don't like Souls games. Yet it's one of the most successful games out on the market. Jeez, I wonder why that is. Probably because they didn't spend so much time trying to make sure everyone would be happy with their games. They were just like, look, man, you either like it or you don't. We're not going to sit here and waste time trying to ensure we have the most playable version of our game so that everyone can have a chance to play it. No, dude. Fuck off. Get good or go home. And that used to just be the norm back then. You know, everyone wants to be all friendly and stuff like, nah, dude. Like, gaming was toxic for the right reasons back in the day. Like brand supremacy, brand loyalty. Whoops. Yeah, got the reload. Console loyalty. It actually meant something back then, because like you could actually have the argument. What's the better console? Is it the Xbox and all of their exclusive titles, or is it Nintendo and all their exclusive titles? Man. And you know what? That's what's funny. Like, I love PC. Don't get me wrong. PC gaming is just where it's at. But I miss the appeal that consoles used to have. You know, they used to have something unique, exclusive. There's that word again, exclusivity. That just made it to be like, yeah, PCs are cool and all, but you ain't got no fucking Dreamcast. PC is great, but it ain't no fucking PlayStation 2. You know, back in the day. You know, gaming has its roots in consoles. Exactly. Most of the people who claim to be super duper PC master race, whatever the fucks, started with a N64 or a Sega Genesis or an NES or a Super Nintendo, whatever.